Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and what time it is where you're joining us from. This is Mindset Monday, not just Mindset Monday, but it is actually a marvelous mountain moving mindset Monday with Zoliswa, Tshetshe and Motsemme on the other side of the world. As usual, I am a transformation life coach, an inspirational speaker, a published author, but when I come here, I'm just babes so a mindset advocate that is your sister having a conversation with you over a glass of water or anything. My cup of tea is here with me today, and I'm sharing the space with my sister from the other side of town. Her name is Motsemme. She is a healthy functional relationships intuitive coach. She is a freedom illuminator, and she's also a transformational speaker, but she is coming here as my sister, as your sister, so that we can interact and talk about the topic of the day. So good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I'm here today. I'm just curious actually. I'm driven by curiosity today, which is a beautiful space to be.
Curiosity, I can't wait to hear. Good afternoon, everyone. Please remember that this is an interactive session. So, whoever that is watching, please do interact by commenting. And if you happen to be on Facebook, allow StreamYard, give StreamYard permission to read your name so that we can know who is commenting and who we are interacting with. So, in this session of Mindset Monday, the current season, we are guided by the book I Serve. So we started about 4 weeks ago. This is the fourth week where we took a chapter per week, and we would be guided by the principles that are coming from that chapter based on whatever comes through for us. I'm the author of the book, and when I wrote the book, there were certain things that were happening to me that I expressed. However, you will not have similar experiences. Kawa is laughing. I can't wait. You will find yourself in one way or the other. There is a principle to take from there and apply it in your life in different ways. So the what we're doing really, the intention behind this 10 weeks, which is the fourth week of the 10 today, is to introduce the application of the principles, whatever the principle come for you. Remember, the principles are not predestined, they are not prescribed. It is what you adopt on a chapter on the basis of what becomes available to you, and then you apply it in your life. And really, we are guided by the desire to ensure that people live lives that are spiraling upwards, that are increasing their level of consciousness to a higher one. So today's chapter, and I'm so looking forward to hearing Khao's curiosity. As you know, our conversations are not scripted. So whatever we're going to be talking about here, I will be hearing Khao's position for the first time today, and she will be hearing what has been placed in my spirit right now for the first time at the moment. Anything that was there yesterday was meant for yesterday, but whatever comes through right now is the reason that you have joined us. It is the reason that you should be listening to what we're going to be talking about. So, relationship with relationships. The chapter is really summary. You need to get a book to get into the details so that you can understand a little bit more about where I was coming from. But the principle that I took out of there, which I'm sharing with you, is you bring your own behaviors. It's B-O-B. You bring your own behaviors to any relationship that you are involved in. And those behaviors are likely to be shaped by your past. It could be your past conditioning, things that you are unconscious about, you're not aware of on the basis of what had happened in the past, on the basis of the beliefs that have been instilled in you. For example, I was born as Umpakwa. Umpakwa is a child born out of wedlock. And I was born to a married father who never told my mother that he was married at the time when they met. And a series of things happened around me as a result of this child that is discarded, a child that's supposed to be a secret, a child that should never have been alive. But having grown up with that understanding that shaped who I am has made me relive those experiences over and over again, because I've been unconsciously carrying them with me up until such time that I realized what was happening and I made peace with the things as they were, and I decided to embrace myself as I am. So, what I bring to a relationship is a behavior that has to do with the habits that have been formed in the past. But if those habits are not positive, I then look at what is this and how do I turn it around so that it can support me. As I'm about to allow you, Khawo, to say what came through for you, Love Tintin says chapter 4 is very interesting. Relationship with relationships. We are social beings and relationships are very important. I couldn't have said that better myself. Khawo, curiosity time.
Yeah, I love what you said actually, because what I wanted to say as well is just that, to declare that my opinion has got nothing to do with the book, as I'm not the author. And what came up for me, because your experience and from what I got from it, it was a typical setting that we mostly find ourselves in. I wanted to say in Africa, but it's not in Africa, it's throughout the world. Because as I was meeting different people, I realized that, yeah, we are here. We can make it about a continent, we can make it about a country, but this is where we live. It's diverse, and I love that it brought a lot of emotions for me, because whatever that I read, I see how I feel about that. And I found myself conflicted. I found certain emotions coming through, because it really took me back to my childhood. There's some things that's like, oh, okay. There's some things like, for instance, when you talk about dating your father. I know I wrote a topic about that. Are you dating your father in relationship some years ago? And I totally agree with that. But what, like, when I was reading that, there's some things, unfortunately, I don't know what is happening today, but there's some words that were coming through. There's some things that I was questioning. So it was a beautiful place to be in. And where I would love to start before I can dive in with my opinion, because it was bringing a lot of emotions on with the society that we grow in, because we grow in, I feel like that book was, when I was reading this chapter, I feel like it was the duality, the bad and the wrong, the bad and the right and the wrong, and all that. I found myself dancing with that, which is one of the things that from childhood I had a problem with. And with me as well, I come from, my parents were Christians, but I always say that with us Africans, we have been sold into religions, and we had our own African traditional, whatever, however we live things. So we took the traditional from the African traditional, and then we took the religion that we were sold into, and we mixed it. What comes out of that? So we mixed two sides, and there was war, there was whatever that was happening there. So for me, there is emotions that comes through. I don't want to lie, there is emotions that comes through when I was going through that. And where I want to start is to ask you, like you said, you were born out of wedlock, and yes, it affected your relationship. But my question is, because I believe your mom was a Christian, how did you feel all along?
About
How did you,
that's how
about being born out of wedlock and the whole situation? How did that make you feel yourself, like your worthiness? How did that make you feel? Because I know you are also a Christian, and you know the whole principles of Christianity, and you are that, which is, it's like, because when I was reading, it brought up that, which I believe, as much as, like, how it has impacted you, but there is that as well, that I get that energy from the book, to be honest. And this is why I want to ask you, how did you feel about it?
Okay. Before I answer, very true, how those experiences very typical. I could have written this chapter myself. It confirms that we are more alike than different. Thank you, Love Tintin. And Tule says quadrant 2, a huge part of who we are. Quadrant 2 deals with relationships in one model. Back to Hawo's question, self-worth. How did I feel? The spirit of the chapter has it goes beyond the fact that I was born out of wedlock, because we were two. I was the second child and we have different fathers. And the issue is that my father, I had to be hidden because my father was married. So with my brother, there was a relationship there with my mother long before I was born. And it is normal to have children out of wedlock. People choose to have children out of wedlock. What caused the feelings of a lack of self-worth is the fact that I didn't know. There was a time, for example, where I wanted to know who is, when my brother goes to his father, who do I go to? Who is my father? Because I had come to understand that the person I called father, who was my grandfather, was in fact my mother's father. And so I felt a lack of a sense of belonging, and a lack of the importance of who I am, a lack of identity as well, because when I grew up, the person, the child, there would be times when my uncle and my mother would fight, and my uncle would tell me that you are actually not a Tshetshe, you are not a Chawe, you are not supposed to be living here. And during that time, when my brother hears this news, he would go back and say, yes, I'm a Dlamini, because he was connected to his father, but who am I? That is the issue that brought a lack of self-worth. So it went beyond just the fact that I was born out of wedlock to the fact that my relationship with that man that had donated his DNA for me to be brought here had no, it was more like I was supposed to have been a secret. Inyala, I don't know what is the English word to use, but I was born as a shame, that is inyala. I was ashamed. It should never have happened. And I carried on looking for this father, that relationship that I should have had, that ideally should have had with the father when I was growing up. I kept looking for it in a man. And now you must remember that I say in the book, my father was not so much interested in the whole thing. Even when the first time I met him, you would expect that he would apologize for the fact that he was in there. He was just emotionally unavailable. And what did I do? I kept looking. The longest relationship I have ever had is with an older man who is emotionally unavailable, because there is a space that he feels of that father that was never there for me. So that is where it's coming from. And I find it interesting that you picked up the spirit of Christianity. There is no mention of Christianity there, but yes, I am Christian. And of course, it has shaped me, it has formed me, it is part of who I am. And it is possible that when I speak, or when I conduct myself, part of my habits and my behaviors will also have that coming through. But it's actually informed from the perspective of the writer now, because you are reader number one in
which is perfect. And what you said is just perfect. What I'd like all of us to do is to sit with that just for a moment and breathe it in, just breathe it in. Because we talk about this, and this is when I talk about, you talk about something, and when you feel it, and this is the shame that we have been living in the society. Who has the right to say that when you are not born in wedlock, you are like, I mean, at times it's not things that are spoken, it's the energy that is there. Some people will talk and some don't. And when I wrote my story, whether you are dating your father in relationship, I'm talking about someone who was born in the marriage, which I don't value that. I'm not saying marriage is not important, but what is important is the relationship that people have with each other. It's not whether you are married. Because for a long time, this whole thing of, there is a word that they use, actually, I've forgotten it. What is the word that they call a child who is born out of wedlock? There is a word for that.
Well, in my language, we call it umqaqwe, which is, well, it's an outcast, basically. It's a...
Yeah, there is I forgot the word in English, but there is that. And a lot of people, we are living here. And it doesn't matter whether your father is the one who has married your mother or what, because there is separation. And I'm bringing in religions, and I'll talk about Christian because this is where all these principles are coming from. And it's separation. It's separation. You are not enough when you are born out of. Actually, it's even shaming the parents. Why don't we talk about these things? Which is also a combination of the whole African tradition, or it's just like what we adopt in the society. We don't talk about them. And as children, we grow up in some things that illegitimate. Thank you, Tule. Exactly. I mean, it makes me emotional because I have seen that, I've heard that, and I didn't consider myself legitimate because I was born with the parents who were married. They were married. Where was that relationship something to say, yeah, it was all roses? No. And I'm not saying I was looking for a rosy relationship, but it doesn't matter. The point that I want to bring through is just that it doesn't matter. Which I believe when I read your story, like your story, and when you said someone said, if I reach 30 and I'm not married, I'm just gonna go ahead and have a child. And you asked to say, are you prepared to have a child and raise a child, is responsible and all that? I mean, there's so many, for me, there were so many things that were bubbling up to say, who is ever prepared? I don't care whether you are married, because you are bringing a soul that you don't even know what that soul wants to learn. Whether the child is given birth to someone who is a drug addict, an alcoholic, we can sit and judge, but who has the right to say this is right or wrong? So we have been living in this duality for a long time. But the question is, what is this child's soul mission? You know, so there's just a lot that came through, but I'll just then to say, then we'll take it from there. Because I don't want to listen from our head. Feel that. Where do you see yourself being judgmental because of the principles that were imposed on us? Talk about religion. Because I grew up angry with all these things. I stopped going to church for the same reasons. And I know that religion, if there is one thing that is teaching, is separation. That one is bad. And we talk about grandiosity. Someone is better than. We experience it even when it comes to religion. Because we feel like, oh, I'm going to church, therefore I'm better. That one is evil, whatever. This is the grandiosity that we talk about when we talk about narcissism and all that. The better than, it always show up in different areas of our lives. It doesn't teach us that here we are. You are like that person. It doesn't matter whether that person is homeless. It's a soul as you are. See in them what you see in yourself. If you help them, do it from the helping, to say I'm helping your soul, not you are so poor or all that, because it's coming. There is that energy that is infused even in your help. So you might as well not do anything if it's coming with that. And some of us, we stop living our dreams. Or even if you wish to have a child, for instance, some months ago, that times when I'm just getting information, and I'll tell someone like, oh, this is what is coming through. There's a child that has to come through. It's just like, oh, actually, suddenly I'm just having an interest in having a child. I didn't know why, because I never wanted to have a child. It happened with me. I never wanted to have children. But when whatever that I'm here to experience came, I had a child, and I didn't follow my parents' whatever of being married forever and all that, because they were married forever. I had children out of wedlock, not one, not two. Not one, but two. And there was a lot that was being taught. Some people were even talking in my face. Like when she gave birth, she was really serious. She went ahead and really had two, like, even because it was like 2 years and a few months, like it was like one after the other, you know. It was, do they know my reason of having that? There is something that I wanted, because there was a gap between me and my siblings. And there is something, like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's better or good or whatever. Sometimes we do what we didn't have in our relationships. Does it mean that it's good, bad, wrong, whatever? No, it doesn't. is because we are coming from a space either of lack or fear of the desire that we have. And at times we expose this on our children.
Sometimes we expose this on our children, and this child has now grown. This has happened. A lot of judgment has happened to the parents, and usually to the mother, because it happens more to the mother than it does to the father. Today's tool that came through for me and that I would like to share with everyone is the BOB, bring own behaviors. Now, for a person that has not yet reached a higher level of consciousness to understand and embrace that all of these things, all of these judgments, societal norms are in actual fact rubbish, because they came up as a result of the creation of this world of duality: right, wrong, good, bad, holy, evil, or whatever we call it. But there are always two sides. Here is a person that's bringing the behaviors that are informed by where they are coming from, and they are conducting themselves in a way that, like you were saying, that you could feel religion or religiosity maybe in a space, because you know I'm Christian. You could feel Christianity coming through there, despite the fact that I did not specifically on this chapter, I did not make any reference to the Bible or to the Christianity, but it is within me, and so it comes through. And the fact of the matter when it comes to relationships as well is that it shapes us through up until we begin to do something about the understanding and the embracing of the fact that we are primarily souls. Hence, someone was saying, who has the right to say that a soul is illegitimate? I think it was Tule on the comments field. Who has the right to say that a soul is illegitimate?
I want you to read what she wrote. Who the hell decides a living soul is illegitimate? And I'm saying it's bullshit.
Here it is. Imagine who the hell decides a living soul is illegitimate. Yes, and it doesn't change the fact that the word is there, the label, maybe not so much the word, because the word means nothing. Welcome, Pussy. The soul is there, but the soul is given a label of being illegitimate on the basis that it came to the body through these parents, the way that it came, whether it was a rape, or it came the way it did in my life, or it came in a different manner, whether the people were married or not married, but the illegitimate term is given. So we sit with these situations when we reach adulthood. What then? Tule says, right now at this age, yes, we can understand that. But as a little girl that only wants to be loved, to belong, and be affirmed, then it's a different story altogether. And this talks to what I was saying earlier on, to say right now, we have our levels of consciousness having been heightened. So we have a better understanding that this whole thing, the principles of the society, don't always make sense. And many times, actually, they are meant, as you were saying, they are meant to judge people and create the us against them. So they are all about separation. But for somebody who does not yet know that they are about separation and has come to adulthood and is carrying his or her life through with being shaped by what has happened, then how do we deal with it?
We don't do anything, because you don't know what they want to experience in this lifetime. But you never stop sharing what you know, because you never know. Someone probably is waiting to hear something that their soul is always telling them. You can talk to someone, then they tell you, I feel sorry for you because you are going to hell. That has happened to me, and I just laughed, and it's okay, because it's the fear that has been instilled on us. There is love, which is the only thing that truly exists. And if we are fed with all the whole hell stories and all that, and it doesn't mean, back in the days, probably, I don't know, it's just a mess. But the whole thing is like, when you tell someone that I'm just gonna talk about what Pindile said. I was told as a woman from a single parent, I'll not make a good wife. There are people who either they ended up not getting married because when the son came and say I found someone that I love, it's like, okay, which family does this person come from? And you tell them the same name. It's like, no, not from that family. You understand? I'm laughing about it, but right now we're in a situation where things there is that understanding, there is that openness, but the energy is still there. But back when I was a child, there is a lot of things that I did not understand. There was a time when men would make women happy, make women pregnant and deny it, and the parents will step in and say that my son cannot make anyone pregnant. Whatever. We've lived horror, and as much as I was young, I did not really get it. I didn't get it. I did not understand all that or whatever that was happening. So I don't know why this came through when I was reading this book, but a lot of things were just bouncing off. Probably also the words, like for instance, when you talk about looking for a perfect relationship, I'm like, who the hell is looking for perfection? I'm not looking for perfection. My life right now, when I tell you about my life and my experiences, it's flipping messy, but I love my messiness. I've learned to fall in love with it. So when you talk about what would you tell someone, truly the guidance that we have, it's our joy, it's the freedom. Hence, I call myself a freedom illuminator, because I believe if you are not happy, if you are not, like I say, there's something that I wrote to say, to the degree that you are not free is to the degree when you are not able. I don't know what I said, but it's the degree to which you cannot love. There are people who right now they'll say, I met someone that I truly loved, but I could not marry them because they did not meet the principles of whatever that they were told. But love is love, and you go ahead with your life and being with someone who meets the principles, for instance, of a church or the principles that are expected by your family. So you are not marrying for your family, you're not marrying for a church, you're not marrying for the society. You want that person because there is something in you that really lights you up. Probably there is that balance that comes through when you meet with that, maybe that free person, and this is why is there a lot of cheating? Because we don't marry people that we truly love. We marry we marry the woman who is submissive. Actually, I came across this many times on Facebook. I was like, I have to talk about this. A woman has to be respectful and submissive to be married. And my question is, who are you being submissive and respectful to? Because if you meet a man who has some patterns that are toxic, who has seen some violence in wherever that this person grows up, and who still wants to prove that I matter, there is that arrogance, that all of that, then how are you going to be submissive and respectful to this person? We are not taught that the person that you have to respect and love is you. Because when you have that within you, you will get that to somebody, and you will give that to the other. It's something that you mentioned, to say what we give is what we get. And that's just what I believe is what guides us. If you are not happy with yourself, if you went through some relationships that were challenging, it's not like it's wrong. It's what you called forth. This is why you chose that family. It's what you chose, what you called forth. Your responsibility is to heal your wounds. You don't go around looking for respect and submissiveness from somebody else. And you don't go around as a woman as well, giving submission and respect to somebody else, yet you do not give it to yourself. If you give it to yourself, then you know what submission is. Even love, when you love from lack, like you said about being with someone older and looking for the father in relationships. I was born from, my parents were married, but as you said, my father was emotional. As you said as well with your case, my father was also emotionally unavailable. Yet they were married, they were together, And the little girl in me was looking for the father as well in relationship. This is why, for me, my experiences, when I sit with someone who said, oh, I didn't have a father or whatever, I'm like, hey, I had a father. Okay, he died when I was 14. But hello, I don't even remember, like really when I look through, I don't remember my father giving me that hug. And I look back, I know that he didn't know what even the hug was, because the anger that I had in me was a tiny bit of the anger that he had. Because we give what we have. Our parents really give us what they have. If they have something in their hands, that's what they're going to hand over to us. And right now, you're going to give what you were handed over as well. It depends on whether you are willing to find out more and heal your wounds so that you can know what love truly is, which is not something that you can put in a small box because it doesn't fit. Love is not to say that, when you talk about that submission of self-sacrificing, that's not love. That's not love. Love is bigger than that.
Love is bigger than that. And love says, I'm fascinated by the possibility that all those circumstances are part of the soul's order, which is what you were saying, Khao, to say that do nothing. It's part of their journey in this lifetime. The full package of experience each one needs to have on their journey to being. I agree with you. The love. And Tule says that to Zoliswa, I know, my friend, the impact of this shame, of that shame, goes unquestioned and tend to shape who we are. And then we take those behaviors to our relationships and to our kids. Thank you so much for bringing this chapter. Thank you for relating to this too. Love Clinton says, freedom illuminator. Yes, that's who she is. She illuminates all of that freedom out of herself first, and then it moves over to all the people she interacts with. Tule says, healing those wounds, those lessons to teach and empower the rest. And that's what we need to do indeed, just like Khao has said. I went through a phase where I literally dated men that looked like my father's brother because he was the one from my father's family that showed me love as a child. I am laughing because I know exactly what you're talking about. And this is exactly what I mean when I say we bring our own behaviors to the relationship, but those behaviors may be shaped by where we come from. But we still bring behaviors. And Khao says that when we go into relationships, we actually have to heal our wounds. So we actually have to sort ourselves so that we are aware of the nurturing and the serving nature of the behaviors that we are bringing, because we are responsible. We have chosen to go into that family. The first time that I was told that it's my fault that I was born to those parents, I almost killed the person that told me. I hated him for the whole 5 days of the program, of the workshop, where he told me that this was the situation. It was only much later when I began to start doing the work on myself that I realized that wow, actually I have a hand in this and I cannot unring the bell. I cannot undo what has happened in the past. But what I can do is to learn the lessons and look at what I can take out of this experience, because I do believe that it has shaped me. And that is why we are having this kind of a conversation today. What do you say people should do in terms of the process of healing their wounds, and the process of there is healing the wounds and there is doing nothing, embracing things as they are? But they actually are going to go into relationships and they want to be happy, but the authentic happiness that comes from within themselves, as opposed to having somebody complete them.
When you talk about authenticity, I know I've spoken about this many times, but I'll also say what I normally say, to say, when you talk about authenticity according to what? Religion, society, family, culture, what? Because you can be authentic and in that level. That means you are going to meet the values that you are handed, not yours. What are your values in life? What is it that when you are being, because you talk about doing, when you are being, what is it that when you are being, you feel like you don't have to be afraid that something will come through? Because when you are just on the surface, you are not comfortable with certain things. And some things, I'm just going to talk about this, something that is just as simple as this. Actually, I don't know how to put it, but I'll just bring this because it's coming forth. It's something that I wanted to address about the perfect bouncing child. You are pregnant, and what are you wishing for? Most of the time, it's like, oh, I just want to have a healthy baby. What is a healthy baby? Some years ago, I was brought into the situation where I don't talk about it, but I feel it in my heart because I was programmed to believe that a healthy baby is the one who has 2 legs, 2 arms, whatever the normal. And when I got into the uncertainties, so where I had to ask a question and ask and say, whatever that is, open my heart so that I can fully love. Because you don't know how the soul wants to come here. In what form does the soul want to come here and experience this lifetime? Most of the times we go around, we see people and we call them disabled. We feel sorry for them. They don't have this, they don't have that. It's coming from our own fear projections of what we don't want, what we want, and all that. There is just a lot of this is why when we talk about this, whatever that we're talking about today, I want you to start looking at yourself. When you say you want something, where are you coming from? When you look at something and you feel like that's not right, what part of you thinks that is not right? You know, because I like I said, I went through that when I was told so many things by the authorities, which is when I talk about religion, it's not only it's the authorities that really have controlled us for a long time. The power from us has always been taken away, and we have to look up to someone, which could be the medical system, the political system, the religious system, and I would say in many ways. Funny enough, this is just coming to me now. I went through the religious thing where I felt like something is not right. I do not belong because I don't find myself as that light, whatever, holy and all that. That's why I stopped going to church, because there are some things that my soul was screaming loud, like, no, 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 no. And then I went through a situation like also I had a child, 2 children out of wedlock. So definitely I do not fit that description of that holy person or whatsoever. And I went through the whole injustice when I was doing the thing with my children. So I suffered that injustice, which is still, we can talk about it in terms of the political system and all that. And I went through it through the medical system, where I knew what I knew as a mother, because the last time I conceived, I was more aware of a lot of things. I could communicate with the baby before the baby was born. I knew that it was not time, but there was just a lot of fear. We don't know what is happening, but the child is not as big as it should be, as an average European has to be. And I'm like, I've had 2 children before, and my children were never big. And there was the fight of what I know and what the medical system brings in. And I felt that fight. And of course, it was what was perfect, because it's one of the things that I'm here to unleash and heal, that whatever that I suffered from, which is when I talk about that, one of the experiences that I had lately. There is a dream that is kind of like a dream, far-fetched. And then there is an experience that you are reliving, where some authorities came through, the political and the religion together. And in this lifetime, I was a medicine woman, and they came through for me to be segment verhaftet of English. What do you say when someone is held by the police or whatever? So they came in, and I was held because of what I was doing, because it was not in alignment of what was being done. And I'm saying it's an experience that I had to relive, because it's something that I had to go through. So there's just a lot of things that even whoever, whether you believe that you've had past lives or not, but when you feel into your body, because your body is never in the future, is always here informing you of what is here. When you talk about something, when you judge something, when you read something, stop and take a breath. Where do you feel something in your body? This is why when I read this, a lot of things came through. Even when you mentioned that you are not allowed to play a lot because some children will contaminate you, I was like, wow. I love this because this is where, when I talk about separation, better than there are bad children and all that, and the projection of fear, I have to protect someone and all that. It's coming from all this. And at times we take it and we're going to teach what we taught. So it was basically my life experience in short, and some of the things that I was rebelling against, because I call myself a rebel, and I don't apologize for it. I gave my mother a hard time. There are so many things you don't have. It's a different thing when you inform a child, when you come in from love. And I believe that's what I wanted. I wanted to be informed, just talk to me and let this old soul of mine, even though in a small child body, that this is what you should know, this is what you should know, be aware, take care, and all that. Don't tell me because I'm coming in and you're like, oh, you're gonna get pregnant. Why should I get pregnant? Like, so judgments like that. For me, it was making me go like, no. Even the church, I think I refused to do it on that basis. And one other thing that I questioned, even when I was going to church, was like, because most of the churches that are, some, okay, not most, but some, actually, I would say 90% of the churches that are going through it was mostly men who were leading. Now it's getting better. But my question was like, what if God sent me here to do something? Then as a woman, you're going to tell me to take a back seat? I never thought that I was here to take a back seat because I'm a woman. So at times we should look, even through our relationship, where are we imposing our habits, our behaviors, somebody else's values? So when I talk about healing, it's something that it's as simple as that. Feel your emotions. Ask yourself, why am I getting triggered? Because it's a different thing. Okay, I guess I have to talk about this. Some days ago, I had someone who contacted me on Facebook, and this person was showing up as this like Christian. I'm an honest person. I was born a Christian with all these disciplines and all that. And I'm really serious. I want someone serious and I want to get married. And I'm like, do you think that women wants to hear this when you come through with, I engaged in the conversation because I found it interesting. And he was so on about being serious, a religious person. He wants to get married. And I'm like, I don't care. And he sends me pictures with all the muscles. And I'm like, what does this say really? Who are you? I don't care about how you look. I care about who you are. And he talks about honesty so much. And I could feel that there's no truth in this. And I'm bringing this up because some people have trained, especially when you talk about this whole religious community, they've been trained to read and understand the principles that were taught, and they're using them to manipulate other people. When you are in touch with your intuition, you'll feel it when something is fishy, that something is not right. So I knew that something was not right, and I ended up actually proving to him to say, you know what, this is just bullshit. So when I talk about authenticity, I'm not talking about authenticity according to the principles that you go read and you can send some verses and all that. I'm talking about really embodying it, owning it. Find out how you're feeling. Find out where you are being oppressed or oppressive because the patriarchy has led us for a long time. Find out where you feel you are better than because you have been, because even about love, when you talk about a relationship with the mother or father, it's not necessarily about how they related with you, because if they were not loved, at times we can be too loving because we want to make up for what we didn't have, and we are teaching our children that they are better than other ones. And when they go out there, they're going with, I am better than. This narcissism thing is coming from that. And at times we whisper into the ears of our children, your father is bad. Your father is like that. You have to be, and we are stripping them of the masculinity, which is also, I love a masculine man, but I don't want the toxicity, but I want a man who can say, babe, no. Because I know I'm a strong woman. So if you come with this slopiness and all that because you have been stripped by your mother telling you that your father is so bad and all that, then there are some qualities that you need that you are not, I don't know, empowered with, something like that. I don't know. I hope that answers your question, but that's what I felt I had to say.
Thank you. It does. Power questions. What is this? Whose is this? Is it even my belief idea? Is that so? Where does this authenticity come from? Is it your own? Is it from a religion, from a political system, and so on? Embodying the values instead of simply regurgitating what you were taught. And indeed, that is what we're introducing today, to embody your own values, to create your own systems or your own principles that you live by based on the self that is you, as opposed to what conditioning has come from you based on what you were taught and it became part and parcel of who you are, especially if it came into your existence from the early days of your life. Talking about the early days, the next chapter which we are going to be working on from this book next week is entitled Early Days. So be sure to join us again on Monday at the same channels at 6 p.m. where Motsemme and I will be guided by the chapter which is entitled Early Days. As of today, there is so much that you could talk about relationships. However, you know that if you need anyone to help you to navigate the road that has to do with relationships, Khawa is available. And I have been showing the website where she is available, but I will also post a link to the program that she is currently running on the comments field here. Tune says, Zoli, I like how at the end of the chapter you challenge. Your challenge is to look at these beliefs that were espoused and see if it is time to make a change. And that is the whole intention. The intention is to make a change. Khawa, your final word.
Yes, I wanted to say regarding what I do, because I spoke about the program. That's a program that I created, so I'm excited about it. But I also, because I've realized that there are people who are very not free to be in a group about that stuff, because the things that we talk about, the things that I do, even the healings that I do, is a personal thing. It doesn't mean that if you book a call for us to have a conversation, you have to be in a program. If you want your one-on-one session, that is also available. So time to heal your core wounds. Core. I'm not talking about the surface of the relationship that ended. I'm talking about what really led you and attracted you to that. What is it that made you to say, oh, that's the one, and you felt something? What was that something? That's my last words.
Okay, what was that something? So remember to get hold of her on any of the contact details that are available here at the website address, or you can check Motsemme on any of the social media platforms and she will be sure to get back to you. So next week again, we'll be together and we will be with chapter 5 of 10 on this book. Up until then, remember, this is only the beginning and your best is yet to come. Have a good evening.